Hi, welcome to the Diablo podcast. We are online at diablopodcast.com, and this is a service of diabloincagamers.com. I am the host, Flux, and my co-host this week is...
Me, Ellie.
It's Ellie. Okay, and no other guests.
No.
It's a big day for the Diablo community and the world in general. I'm pretty sure that there was an official resolution at the UN condemning something or other about this, or perhaps praising it. It is Diablo 3 has been release date, finally been revealed. Were you consumed with joy, Ellie?
Yes, I was. I didn't quite know how to react because it actually happened. But yeah, I was very, very pleased to wake up to that in the morning. But I did have a sneaking feeling because Azur had said last night that Bashiok's closing message from the night before was, "I'm off to bed, sleep well." And he pasted it to me and said, "That's a strange message." And I thought, well, not really, if he's off to bed. And he said that Bashiok always puts those sorts of messages when he knows something's about to happen. And so the last thing that Azur said to me before I shut off the night before, he said was, "Mark my words, release date tomorrow." So he was right.
Indeed he was.
Mm?
Does it depress you that your professional life involves trying to read the tea leaves of Bashiok's Twitters? Do you ever wonder how your life has come to this?
Yeah, it's quite sad, really, isn't it?
Shouldn't we be curing cancer or something? So yes, they finally announced a release date. Funny thing I thought when I saw it today was, I remember some months ago people were pointing out that usually it's about 2 months before the game release when they release the release. The release of the release of the release is 2 months previous, right? And people kept clinging to this. What was it, April 15th or April 17th? We had this rumor.
17, yeah.
And saying, oh, maybe they're going to do it in 6 weeks, and maybe it's only going to be 5 weeks, and then pretty soon it was down to 4 weeks practically. And then, of course, release date came today, and it was today on March 15th, and the release is May 15th. So I had to take your 2 months and put it in, I guess, bronze that and stick it on the wall next to your baby shoes.
Yeah, it's pretty spot on, isn't it? And in case anyone loses track of where we are, we've got a lovely counter on the right-hand side of the front page. Weeks, days, hours, minutes, seconds.
Yes, which currently has 59 days or so to go, which seems longer to me than 2 months. I mean, obviously it's the same thing, but once I saw the number, I was like, oh man, 59 days? That's a long time. Whereas 2 months didn't seem so long at all.
Yeah, it'll probably drag as well, actually.
At least we still have the beta to play. There's news happening and stuff.
Yeah, maybe we'll get access to some other new areas.
Yeah, no. We can talk about that in a minute. We did last over the weekend, but very briefly.
Yeah.
My thought on the counter, just it's like if you're bored and 5 minutes seems like forever, and then you hear there's 1,440 minutes in a day, you're like, oh my God, that's so many minutes. There's 10,080 minutes in a week.
When did you work all this out?
Earlier, while I was writing notes. Actually, I just know all these numbers because I'm like Dustin Hoffman's character in Rain Man. But just I was wondering, why does it seem longer to me knowing it's 59 days instead of 2 months? And if you break it down into larger chunks, it's only a sixth of a year. Wow, that's almost tomorrow. So there we are. When will it become interesting? I mean, when will you start to really think, like, if we get under like 7 days, it's going to be like, wow, it's really getting close.
Probably when the weeks one turns to 0.
Which would be like less than 7 days.
Yeah.
See, I think you just proved my point, actually. Like how if it says a month, it seems like a long time, but 30 days is a long time. But I was just reading a forum post I made this morning saying, what are you guys going to do? Do you have actual plans for that Tuesday, that Wednesday when the game comes out? Because people have discussed this in theory forever. It's like, yeah, I'm going to stock up on Red Bull and Cheetos and nail my front door shut and all this kind of stuff. But that was all very hypothetical, and obviously it still is hypothetical. But now that we have an actual date, it seems a little more concrete. You can kind of plan ahead and where am I going to be in terms of my school and my work and my family and these other sort of things.
I work from home, so I'm okay as far as work's concerned, but I won't be doing any socializing or anything that week.
Yeah, I feel bad for students because that's right before finals or during finals, depending on which different schedule you're on in college or high school or whatever. But it seems like a really good way to flunk your sophomore year or something, Hey, Diablo 3's coming out. My chemistry finals tomorrow. Priorities.
Yeah. Will you knock your gym on the head for that week, or will you still keep to your normal schedule and just play when you can?
Who knows? We'll be so busy with website updates and stuff also. I mean, hard to get to play at all. I don't recall playing Diablo too much the first like 3 weeks. Too busy with gathering information.
But everybody seems well excited this morning. It was really good to get up to a positive thread where I think virtually everybody was really positive. A few people moaning.
There's always a naysayer or two,
but by and large, everyone's really relieved to have the news finally. I just hope for Blizzard's sake they don't slip.
Speaking of busy people that week, I mean, what if it was your birthday that day or that week, you'd be excited. It's like, hey, here's my birthday present sort of thing. But, people that have, if it's your mom's birthday or your girlfriend or your boyfriend's birthday or whatever, it's like, oh, crap, if that's just stop playing Diablo 3 and go out to dinner with somebody.
Yeah.
They're going to have a birthday next year. Diablo 3's not coming out again next year.
Well, there was someone whose birthday it was today who said this is the best birthday present they've ever had.
That might say something about their birthday, actually.
Yeah.
I might be a little disappointed by that if that was true of my birthday. But a good friend of mine is pregnant with her first child and is due, I believe she said the 12th. So I'm like, well, as I said to you in a text about that, well, it's no problem. New mothers, brand new parents, plenty of free time to play a video game. Won't have any other concerns or activities, getting plenty of sleep and well rested.
Yeah, she'll have to forget about Diablo 3, I'm afraid. It's too late for her.
Okay. Any other release date? One thing you mentioned, you were complaining about it. The digital version costs the same as the box version.
Yeah.
Which isn't really brand new news, but for some reason that was sticking in your craw.
Excuse me. I think it only occurred to me when I was reading the beginning of the press release. I thought, hang on a minute. How can that possibly be the same price? The printing cost, the distribution for a start. I mean, it can't be the same price to get a digital copy of a game to somebody's PC as it does to get a box copy of the game to somebody's PC. There's more costs involved in the hard copy, isn't there?
Yeah, and of course the hard copy, Amazon or whoever takes like $20 out of that. So it's vastly more profitable for companies to sell digital copies, which is why they're so busy trying to sell digital copies. That's why there's a Blizzard online store, because they make a hell of a lot of money off of it.
Surely, I don't know, it just seems a bit off not passing some of the saving, at least making some attempt to say, look, as everybody knows, it's vastly cheaper for us to get this to you. We're going to reduce the price a bit. I mean, we make more profit on it digitally. That's fair enough. But we're going to pass some of that saving on to you guys. Passing none of it seems a bit...
How do you think all of their retailers and gaming shops in the world would react if they were selling the digital copy of their games for $45 and the stores had to charge $60?
Well, that's just helping the game retailers. That's not helping the customers. I mean, it's the customers that keeps everybody in business.
I think Blizzard every publisher has deals with game retailers, and if you rely upon them to promote your products and to sell them, and then you're undercutting them online, they're going to be like, well, hell with this. I would think they would be massively unhappy.
Yeah, I wonder if bookshops think the same.
Well, bookshops are all doomed anyway because everybody's buys stuff on Amazon and has it mailed to their house. There is a class action lawsuit being started now because people are pissed off that digital copies of books cost, 18 or 20 or 19 or 12 or whatever, as much or more than physical copies of it. And of course, there's all these collusion problems, and Apple is alleged to have partnered with book publishers to keep prices high, so Amazon couldn't undercut them because Amazon, of course, has their e-reader, and Apple wanted to have the iPad as a big reader. There's all kinds of legal allegations flying back and forth, but the gist of it is that it's not cheaper to buy a digital copy of a book than to buy a hard copy. And obviously you have to wonder why not, given that it costs money to actually print the book and ship it, etc. So, are you going to get a digital copy or a boxed copy or both?
Boxed.
You're not going to get the digital, so you'll be playing it at 12:01 a.m. the morning of the launch?
I think I'll get a digital copy so I can play in America, and I'll get the boxed copy for here. I've got some CEs on order as well.
I guess you get one benefit by being in the UK. You're 8 hours later, so at midnight is 8 in the morning there, so you can just get up nice and early in the morning, your usual waking time, when you get up at dawn to go out and feed the chickens and water the hogs. And oh wait, no, you don't.
No.
That's actually, you probably prefer midnight to 8 a.m. actually.
Yeah. No, so I'll get a digital copy for US so I can play with you, and a hard copy here. Well, collector's editions, actually. That's what I've ordered and paid for.
Shiny.
One to look at and one to open.
After you waited for months and months for there to even be a D3 CE available in the UK.
Yes, yeah.
And it finally was. You posted news about it, and then you took your own news, apparently.
Well, I went and ordered 2 copies before I posted the news.
Just in case they ran out.
Just in case they only had 50 in stock or something, yeah.
The second you post it, 100 UK readers all go dive and buy them all up. It's like, no. That would be ironic. Well, you gotta get some benefits of getting, being the news clearinghouse for Diablo community.
So I can put the copy of the CE next to my D2 CE, which is at the back of a cupboard at the moment.
But you'll know it's there, so it'll cheer you up. Yeah, I haven't bought anything yet. I'm just planning on getting the digital download. There's links now to download the client in advance, 7 gig or whatever. So in theory, we can have all that ready, and as soon as it goes live, you just click a few buttons to install it, and then the massive crash of 8 million gamers at once, and you can't get on Battle.net for 3 weeks. But in theory...
Well, it's not going to happen in the US, is it? It's more likely to happen in the EU, considering we don't even have any servers yet.
I'm sure nothing could go wrong there. They'll get it all worked out in time.
Absolutely, because the launches always go well anyway, don't they?
And if it's a problem, you can just play single player for a while anyway. Oh, wait. Okay. Any other release date thoughts?
That's actually probably a good idea that I'm actually going to get a US digital version. So if the European servers do have teething problems, I can just pop onto the American one anyway.
Teething problems.
That's a polite way of saying going tits up, really.
Exactly.
Oh, I was just going to say that the only notable release that's coming out on the same day is Max Payne 3 that's so far been announced. So I don't think that'll have any impact on D3 sales. Do you?
I wouldn't imagine so. Is that a game or a movie? I don't even know which one that is.
It was.
I guess it's a game, or you wouldn't have brought it up.
It's a game. There was a movie. I think it had what's his name? Boy.
Dustin Hoffman.
No.
Boy George.
But Backstreet. No.
Nick Cannon.
Oh, I don't know.
Marky Mark.
No. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Anyway, he was in it. I never saw it.
Would anything have an impact on D3?
Nothing. Nothing in the world can touch it.
It's the 800-pound gorilla.
I did actually think that it would be done on Friday the release date, because I thought there's no way they can announce it on Monday, because Monday's going to be the Pandaria Panda Pack, isn't it? Wow, Panda Pack Day. And I think the D3 release date would just get buried on the news sites in that, and they couldn't wait until after that news had died down, because that takes you to the week commencing the 26th of March, which is too far away, considering that Jay said, the release date's practically upon us.
And he was right.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jay, he's been posting the last few days, lots on his Twitter account about the game and about playing Inferno and about the fun game testing and how difficult it is, and lots of teasing comments as well. And it seemed pretty, sign of release, as people say. And obviously it was. A little more of the content Jay's been talking about, a lot about playing Inferno and how difficult it was in this big multiplayer game, and they were all dying lots on bosses. And we've been having this debate for months and months, as the beta has been quite easy. People keep saying, is the game going to be challenging? Is the game going to be challenging? And they keep insisting that it will be. Have you found, you said you've still never died in the beta, last time I heard from you. Have you played in the new patch much, and do you feel it's changed things for the better? Oh,
yes, it's definitely harder. I haven't died, but definitely I got a couple more red screens.
A moment of brief terror.
Yes. Yeah, but that, you just have to be a little bit more cautious now.
I asked you earlier, I said we've been talking about doing a playthrough and recording it, for a podcast forever. And you'd post an edited version, the video version of it. Because people don't just see every square inch of the beta anymore. They've seen it 100 playthrough videos. And I said we have to do it with hardcore characters. And I'm like, that'll be fun. You've never died. You've been playing hardcore the entire beta, basically.
Well, I haven't played hardcore before, so it would be interesting. So I wouldn't mind doing that as an experiment.
And it'll add some excitement to the podcast. If one of us dies, it's going to become an interesting show. And now what do we do?
I think I'll be really, really cautious. That's what I'm worried about. That'd be a bit pussy,
Well, I figure I've done a hardcore wizard and demon hunter so far. It didn't really play any different to me so much. Neither of them died, so... But I thought I would do a monk or a barbarian, so I'm more up in the front and taking more damage, and they're not characters I'm as accustomed to playing. So maybe that'll make it a little more scary.
Did you gear up to the best equipment you could, or did you try and make it purposely difficult?
Well, I didn't have any equipment. It was hardcore. So everything was a fresh start. I had to level up the artisan again and everything. So.
But I mean, did you just keep basic white gear on all the way through, or did you try and get yourself the best gear all the time?
I made a little more effort once I got towards level 9 or so. I did some crafting, more than I usually would have, but I didn't make any special different playing efforts so much. I got a pretty good drop early on with the wizard. I found I think a 12.4 or so DPS. I think a one-handed axe or something like that earlier than I usually would have. So I actually had less trouble with that character than I had with the softcore wizards previously in the same patch. Just luck of the draw you get sometimes.
The areas, the festering bumholes. What's it called? Festering woods.
Festering bumhole. Yes, that's actually in there.
I can't remember what the blooming hell it's called. The festering woods, not bumholes.
Festering woods, I believe.
You played in it, didn't you? You couldn't pick hardcore in that, could you?
No, I was actually wishing you could have, because I had just made a couple of hardcore characters like the day before. I guess we should briefly explain that last weekend somebody somehow found a way to move past the locked gate in the cemetery, which is the furthest point you can go into the beta. And later in Act 1, that's where you will go, through that locked gate, and that takes you into the Festering Woods and the next big area, the Drowned Temple and the Fields of Misery. And that's basically the next quest along, but of course you can't do that in the beta, and yet someone somehow figured out a way to do it, or, accidentally by a bug or whatever. Nobody seemed to be able to recreate it, so I think maybe it was a one-off, flukish event. But there's a waypoint in there, and once they had that waypoint, they were able to revisit that area whenever they wanted, and anybody else who joined their game could use the banner system to immediately teleport to where they were. So this very quickly spread, and then that was all, Saturday night, Sunday night. There were rumors on Saturday, and then Sunday night everyone was playing it, and I got in there and played it for a couple of hours and tested it out and did a big post on the website about it. And people were trading it madly, and then Blizzard patched it all out, and now it's gone on Monday morning. I was quite sad that it's gone, but it was very fun.
So how much more difficult did you find the next areas on from what's currently in the beta?
It was much more challenging. I don't think it was the finished game version. I mean, most of the dungeons you couldn't enter. You'd find these little dungeons, and you'd hover on it, and it would have this line of gibberish of game code for the title, and you couldn't enter the area. So obviously it wasn't fully, it's not the full game. It was just part of it that was enabled on the servers at this point. I also noticed that there weren't really any mage characters or any ranged attackers. It was almost all melee stuff. So I think it's probably not the same balance of monsters we'll see in it. All that said, it was definitely a lot harder. Much quicker monsters, much larger groups of monsters. The walking trees were really tough. They're very, very beefy. By far the most difficult single targets you get in the beta.
And was the variety of the attacks from the mobs more varied?
Well, not really, because there weren't any ranged attackers. That was the whole point in that. There's no melee, there's no mages. I think there will be. You'll probably get, you get goatmen, but they're only like spear stabbing, corrupted rogue type goatmen. They don't actually have any spear throwers or goatmen shaman or anything. And maybe that'll be the case in the game. Obviously, it's not that far into Act 1. But it was much, there's some flying ghosts and stuff, but it was less varied, and it was really very easy to run away from things. It was not hard with a ranged character, because you could just back up. It's not like it was harder for the tanks. But monsters were hitting a lot more damaging and moving a lot more quickly, and there were different boss modifiers, quite a number of boss modifiers you don't see in the regular beta at this point. And just the general difficult. I mean, they're higher level monsters, so obviously they're going to be a little bit harder. I'm also not sure what level you'd be, because I was playing it with a level 12 and a level 13 character. I did it with a wizard and a witch doctor and a demon hunter.
That's what So
they were probably above the level curve anyway. If you were there at level 8 or 9, it would have been really challenging.
This is the bit directly after the Skeleton King, isn't it? But the Skeleton King is actually later in the game, in the full game, isn't it, than it is in the beta?
That's not for sure, but I think that's the case. Yeah. Blizzard's never confirmed it, but it seems like he appears out of order a little bit. Like he's actually maybe 2/3 of the way through the act normally, and they moved him up earlier just to give sort of a concluding boss battle to the beta.
Yeah, so is he before or after the Festering Woods in the final?
Well, after that, you get to other areas, and one of them is Leoric's Manor, and you enter his house, and you go down through the dungeons, and then you see all those dungeons that were in BlizzCon in 2010, where they have that whole burning, fiery one, Leoric's torture chambers.
Right.
And then there's a whole huge level that's the jail, which is very green-tinted, and you fight this giant warden skeleton at the end of it. And all those areas are all about King Leoric, and his, you see the cinematic where his headless wife talks about things, and you see her execution. And it just seems weird that would all be in the game long after you've actually battled Leoric himself. You would think all that story stuff would be before you ever battle him, right?
Yes.
It seems a weird order, It'd be like if you fought Diablo in Act 3 and then all of Act 4 was about Diablo. It's like, well, what? That's going to be, I mean, maybe that's how it's done, but it would seem odd to me. So I'm expecting that, like you said, that Leoric will actually be much later in the full game than he is in the beta.
Yeah, I think they've just, like you say, they've shoehorned him in so he gives some sort of end to the beta. They've got to have some sort of big boss fight at the end, haven't they, really? What percentage do you think what we have in the beta now and the areas above ground that you got to access last weekend, what percentage of Act 1 do you think they are?
If you actually count up the levels, there's something like 85 different levels in Act 1, and like 34 of those are in the beta. And you look at how many of the beta areas are just really tiny. I mean, like the area outside of Tristram counts as one level. And you go through that in 5 seconds when you first start up the game and run up to the gates, And there's other areas like going to Adria's shack and stuff. I mean, you run along a little pathway for what, 20 seconds, 30 seconds? Right. I mean, it's pretty and all, but I mean, that's an area, and so is like the Weeping Hollow, which you can spend, 25 minutes clearing out, the Weeping Hollow. So it seems that the levels were getting considerably larger as you go along. So it seems to me like Act 1 it's about 40% of the total levels, but I think it might be 20 or 25% of the actual playtime, or the total areas that you'll explore in terms of size. But we don't know if all the named areas are in the game, and we don't know how many levels some of the dungeons have, etc. But yeah, I think the beta. I mean, they say it's half of Act 1. I think it's probably more like a quarter of Act 1 in terms of playtime and total amount of killing and fun and etc.
Yeah, I was very fed up that I missed all that because I decided to have time off last weekend. So
what did you get for sleeping?
God, that was so badly timed.
Well, in 2 months you can see it again.
Yeah, never mind.
It was very fun though, just getting a different look at things and different size of areas and levels. I mean, they're basically the big ones. The Festering Woods, unless we're mangling the name again, is about the size of the Weeping Hollow. But the whole Weeping Hollow is full of really slow-moving undead. You get a few scavengers and stuff, but mainly it's zombies and skeletons and such. And, puking zombies. And they just kind of stand there and wait for you to come to them. Mm-hmm. So whereas the big difference with the Weeping Hollow, with the new area...
Festering.
Is that Festering Woods. The Festering Bunghole. I think that's Bashiak's level, actually. The big difference with the Festering is that they run at you. You go through areas and you see these big trees and they come charging towards you and stuff.
Yeah, I've watched all the videos. It looks a lot more exciting, fast-paced.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the next area you get to in the beta. We don't know in the full game. We don't know the exact sequence of events, but you go through the Weeping Hollow and you get to the cemetery of the Forsaken, I think. And that's got the 3 crypts in it, and one of those has the Skeleton King's crown.
Yes.
And then you go back to town, and then you're able to go down and do cathedrals 2 through 4. And then after that in the beta you go down to the 2 levels of Leoric's dungeon and you fight him. We don't know where those dungeons. There's no real logical progression between the cathedral and Leoric's dungeons. The level sets look totally different. There's no real reason why Leoric's level would be below the cathedral like that. I mean, he was, he didn't live in the cathedral. The cathedral was an old ruined monastery. He lived in his manor, and where he had his kingly stuff. So I don't think the location makes any real sense in terms of the full game. In theory, you'll do something in the cathedral, and then you'll return to town, and then at some point probably Leah will come with you and open that gate in the Forsaken Cemetery, and you'll go explore something else for some reason. So I do think it is the next area you would do after that point.
And it was, as I say, it seemed a lot faster paced than the previous levels. So I'm trying to imagine if that's the ramp up, then what's it going to be like on Inferno at the later stages of the game in Inferno difficulty? What Blizzard is saying has to be true. It's going to be absolutely mental.
I hope so. Blizzard kept saying, well, the pace of the gameplay is really slow because it's for beginners and it's noobs. And it's gotten steadily, especially the last patch, as you said, it's gotten much more challenging now. And that appears to still be just, the very babyest step of Diablo 3, which I have to take as good news.
I do too.
Moving on, do you want to talk about the PvP at launch? Do you have any thoughts on that? The lack of PvP at launch?
I thought that would go down like a lead balloon, that news. But by and large, people didn't seem that fussed. I did a quick and dirty vote on our Facebook page straight after it, asking people what they thought, knee-jerk reactions really, and 415 votes said great, get rid of it, just get the game out, don't care, compared to 43 who said I don't care about PvP, and only 74 said that's terrible, PvP should be in and working perfectly by now. So 415 said great, stop it, just get the game out. So they didn't seem that bothered, but when the news first went up, I thought, this is gonna ruffle a few feathers, but it didn't really.
Well, the way Blizzard presents it is, we don't have time to get in PvP, we don't want to delay the game to put in PvP, so we're not doing it. And no one's going to say, yeah, delay the game for 4 more months to put in PvP. You know, if in 2010 Blizzard said, hey, guess what, we're gonna delay the game 6 months from our initial estimates, and there's not going to be any PvP in it, what do you think? Yeah, I think you would have had a little more than 437 people who liked that, you know, or I think that would have gone over like a lead balloon. You know, you get people close to the release and say, hey, we don't have time to put this in, we'll add it later, and no one's going to be like, oh yeah, delay it until August, I just want PvP, you know.
Whenever Blizzard say that about we felt we needed to get the game out, we didn't want to delay the game, we want to get it out to you, so that's why we've put this on hold. It always reminds me of politicians when they go on the campaign trail and say, I believe that every child is entitled to an education, as if other people are going to disagree and say, well, actually, I tend to disagree with that. You know, it strikes me like that. When it was unveiled back at BlizzCon in 2010, I thought the concept looked like it had been pretty much fleshed out, and all that there was left was to make sure they had well-balanced, interesting maps and maybe the balance of the skills. So I wondered if being put on hold was purely from the fact that the classes aren't balanced for PvP.
Yeah, I asked people that played PvP a great deal last year at BlizzCon, and that was a new system where it was a deathmatch thing instead of rounds, and everybody loved it. Everybody who played it really enjoyed it, and they were all really bummed it wasn't going to be in the release. So I think 2 points on that. I think that, you know, a lot of people who are saying I don't care have never played it, and everybody who has played it really liked it and wished it was in. Obviously, you know, most people voting on our Facebook poll haven't been to BlizzCon the last 2 years, so that's one thing. But I think the bigger issue is that everybody was like, look, they could just release what they had at BlizzCon and we would be perfectly happy to play that right now. It was really fun, even just using, you know, pre-made characters at level 60. Well, you couldn't adjust the skills or anything. It was fantastically fun. So it seems like Blizzard could just enable some system like that and get it functional and people would jump right in and do it. The fact that they're not doing that makes me think they've increased their plans for PvP. After they've long said, you know, it's not going to be that balanced, we're not going to make it an esport, we don't really care, it's just going to be kind of a fun feature. It seems like they're now putting a higher standard on it, thinking we shouldn't just dump something out that's functional, we should really make it good. Which I guess is good news in one way, but then again it makes us have to wait 6 months longer to play it. So.
But that is Blizzard, isn't it? They're not going to put something in that's half-assed.
They'd said they were forever. They kept saying we don't care about balance, it's not going to be a big deal, not going to be an esport. And now I think that they're realizing that, you know, like every game after release, there's going to be a ton of patches and rebalances and fixes. You know, people will find exploits and overpowered and underpowered skills, etc. And they figure they'll just be working nonstop for the first month or two, getting the PvE experience all balanced and perfect and streamlined and bugs fixed, etc. And then they don't want to have to try to do PvP at the same time. You know, there's only so many people there who can really do the high-level balancing stuff, and they can't be doing the same skill 2 different ways at the same time. And they're just kind of making it easier on themselves. And once they have all the PvE stuff figured out and sorted more or less.
So they'll probably put PvP test server up because it'll have to be tested by really avid PvP players to find those exploits, shall we say, in inverted commas.
Who knows? those tricks, you mean?
Yeah.
You must have translated that incorrectly.
Yes, I have to be careful using the word exploit.
They don't have those in Blizzard games.
But yeah, so yeah. I assume that we'll get a PvP test server at some point, and all you PvP nuts can go on there and just test the hell out of it. And then we get the final balanced product on the live servers. That seems sensible to me.
Well, that means it'll certainly happen then if it's sensible.
Absolutely. Next.
And we've settled that problem. No extra charge, Jay. We'll just solve any other game problems you need. We'll just clear them up for you there. VP of Common Sense Elly will take care of that problem.
Yep. PvP sorted. Check. Right. Next subject.
The new skill movies. Is that which one? We want to talk about that a little?
Oh yes. I thought the majority on the comments on news and the YouTube channel was very positive. Don't you think?
I didn't read the comments on the YouTube, but I mean they were pretty. People were bitching about Blizzard mainly. I mean, not the company, the skill. We've seen that in previous demos. It's been on, they've had a short video of it on their skill page forever, and nobody likes it. It's funny that the iconic company name in the skill that's in every Blizzard game has got a Blizzard skill in it from some mage or other, Warcraft 2 and Warcraft, etc. And then here it is in Diablo 3 and it doesn't look very good.
I thought it was all right. The comments mainly on YouTube that were negative about that skill only was that it was too slushy. But I thought it sounded really good. It sounded sharp, as if it would be like Do you know?
The problem might be that Blizzard is located in Southern California, where a really cold day is like 56 or 20 in Celsius. They don't know what snow looks like. They've never seen it.
Maybe, but I think it looks okay. And of course, it's gonna have 5 variations through the runes.
Yeah, that's the other point I was going to make on these skills, is that they have these videos on the Blizzard site, and they're all the base skill, which you'll never ever use once you have any runestones available, because they always improve upon it. So it's kind of funny that they're I guess they have to show us the basic skill. They're not going to throw out the third level of, I was going to say, the Crimson Rune effect or something. We don't have Crimson Runes anymore. But I guess they have to show the basic skill, even though no one's going to use it, and almost all the other versions are upgrades in visual and in function. So they're kind of playing against themselves in this case, I guess. Where as you say, I bet the other 5 versions of Blizzard all look much better, but they can't show us that yet. Or they're not choosing to show us that yet.
The only one I still don't like, is that big bell, the monk bell.
Yeah, the taco bell.
Yeah, I don't like that. It's just.
And, it's kind of cute that he drops this huge bell and then he slams into it, and it makes this bong sound and knocks monsters back with the reverberation. It's kind of cute.
Cute. Well, I'm not sure I'd describe it as cute, but I don't know. It just doesn't. When I first saw it, I thought, what? Nah, that doesn't go. Surely.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very Diablo-esque, does it?
Anyway,
I could see a panda dropping that on an orc or on a murloc or something, but it doesn't seem to fit quite the gothic intensity.
The other one is the rapid fire, or machine gun, as they seem to call it, which is exactly what it sounds like, really. That one doesn't sit too well, in my opinion, in Diablo, the machine gun.
It's funny because the other one, the evasive fire, actually has a gunshot sound effect. It's pa-cow, pa-cow, pa-cow every time you use it.
Very good.
Even with a bow, using a crossbow or a bow or anything, and it's like a twang. No, it's pow, pow. It's like a little kid's cap gun.
That's a fun one to use, that skill. I like that one.
Yeah, and there's still a higher level version that of one of the demon hunter's passive skills has that rockets effect. People have still been bitching about. It makes certain runestones have fire rockets out. People are like, there's no rockets in Diablo 3. Like, yeah, well, there are now.
What's the one when the demon hunter goes around in a circle?
Strafe.
Is that it?
Yeah, that was in the last beta patch and is not in the current version. It's like level 16 now, which is too bad. It was fun to use.
I still got it on the demon hunter because it was selected when it changed over, so I can still use it.
Just never change it out.
I don't know. It's not strafe either. That's not strafe.
Well, that's what the skill's called. I don't know if you can argue the function.
Oh, any FPS fan player will tell you that strafe isn't going round in a circle. It's strafing from side to side. Maybe strafing doesn't mean going from side to side, but that's the only reason. That's the only way I've ever used the word in FPS games. To strafe. So when I first saw it, we were going to get a strafe skill, I thought we'd be going, to the side instead of twirling around. But maybe strafe. Well, what does strafe mean? Definition.
There's strafe in Diablo 2. I think it just means firing a lot of shots at a high rate of speed at one target. Or
strafe isn't a movement then?
I mean, really, strafe could be rapid fire. I think rapid fire is more like what strafe is generally. I mean, like helicopters, in real life and war, they strafe a target.
A what?
And they're obviously not shooting in a circle. They're just shooting a lot at one thing.
A what? In real life?
Helicopters. You don't have those in your country? They're flying machines that have rotors in the top that spin around in circles.
Did you just say helicopter?
Helicopters, yes, they're quite handy. Of course, there was the strafe skill in Diablo 2, which fired at every target nearby you.
But it's helicopter.
So you can mispronounce it however you like.
No.
So
what?
They're trying to
like artisans, yeah.
Artisans, yes, those two.
Sorry, carry on.
So I mean, this is like a rapid fire version of Diablo 2's strafe, or strafey, as they say in the UK, apparently. And I guess that's the. I'm not really fond of the whole Tasmanian devil spinning graphic myself, but it was fun to use. So I guess we kind of overlook these things. I mean, we've had the barbarian doing whirlwind forever, which is the same spinning in a circle kind of thing, and no one seemed to object to that.
Yeah, but that's a barbarian. He's rage. He's going mad, or something like that. Excuse me.
Well, and that makes it okay. I don't know. One thing I noticed in the new skill rune system, in terms of these base skills, is that we're actually going to get a lot more use out of them in the current system of the game, at least up through like level 35 or so. Previously, when you found runestones, you would have, as soon as you got a skill, you'd have had runestones by level 15 or something like that. As soon as you got the skills from that, that come on from 15 to 30, you would have put a runestone in them instantly.
Yeah.
So in many cases, you never would have seen the base skill at all, or for like 10 seconds.
Mm.
In the current system, you will always see the base skills of everything for at least 4 or 5 levels, because that's how long you have to use it before you get to the first rune ability, right?
Yes, that's true.
So some of the distance between them varies a lot. I noticed in the current patch, the Bola shot for the Demon Hunter comes on at level 12, and the first rune ability was at 14, which maybe is, a typo, or they're going to adjust that in the final game. I was surprised it was that close in level, because I thought all of them were at least 5, 6, 8 levels apart.
Well, we've got another patch coming tomorrow, is it? Tomorrow night? Well, probably Saturday.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, given Blizzard, it'll be Saturday or Sunday, but yeah, I thought that might be an interesting balance issue in the game to some degree, and it's only in the lower levels. But say you get, you'll get your big skill, Blizzard or whatever comes on level 29 or 30 is when the last of the first skills arrive, and then if you don't get the rune effect in that until 35, that could be, a considerable amount of playtime. And meanwhile, all your other, your level 22 and 25 and other such skills will have their first rune effects already available, or their second rune effects even, some of them. And, in theory, a level 24 skill with a rune effect is going to be more effective than a level 30 skill that's the base skill. So it seems like we'll get this sort of a weird state. Previously, when rune stones came from items, as soon as you got your level 29 and 28 and 30 skills, those would probably have been your best skills, because you would have put your level 3 Crimson or whatever into it, right? But now you can't upgrade them to a rune effect until level, 34, 35, 36, whatever. And I wonder if Blizzard's going to have to do a little bit of rebalancing on that. That'll be early Nightmare, so maybe it won't even matter really very much. But it's kind of an odd little state where when you first get these skills, they're going to be less effective than other earlier skills that might have not been meant to be as powerful, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. But of course, in the old system, you'd have been able to just go on the auction house and buy yourself some high-ish level runes to pop in straight away. Now the only way you can get them is by your own hard work.
Yeah, you got to level up.
Yep.
The related issue to that is, you have to get a character level 60 to see all your rune effects now, whereas before you could have seen all those at 30 or 31.
Yeah, it encourages you, like you say, there's a gap between getting the skill and being able to put a rune in it. It does encourage you to use more of the skills rather than just hone in on one and just ramp it up with the highest runes that you can buy and off somebody else and slot in. This encourages you to actually experience the skill, give it a chance before another one that you can rune becomes available.
Comes in to ruin it.
Yeah, ruin
it.
Yeah, I got it. That's really good. Bada bing bang, or whatever.
Thanks. I'll be here all week. Try the veal. So, any other skill movie comments? Oh, they do show a lot of interesting areas. I mean, more than the skills themselves, which a lot of which we've already seen in data mining and such, or screenshots. Then there's new areas. There's some nice parts of Act 3 we hadn't seen. It looked like, windswept. Yes, you like windswept, of course.
I do like windswept.
Snowy vistas and plateaus and monsters we hadn't seen before and stuff.
Yeah, I do think the environments are nice.
Are you planning to play furiously when you have your multiple region different versions, digital downloads, etc.?
Yeah, obsessively.
Is your plan? Are you going to just blast one character through all of the whole normal difficulty, or are you going to switch around a little bit at the start?
Oh no, I think I'll play one character all the way through normal.
You want to see Asmodan and Diablo and all the quests and the story and everything?
Yeah. What are you going to do? You're not going to just play all 5 through part the way, are you?
I had planned, I got to play through the whole normal difficulty because, for side information, if nothing else, update all the quest pages and that kind of stuff. But, just because I'm curious also, I want to see how the plot goes and, what kind of monster Leah turns into or whatever. See who kills Cain. Please, God, someone kill Cain.
Aww.
Misery put out of.
Oh.
Send him to the glue factory. He vexes me. Anyway, and see what ridiculous cliffhanger ending we have with, this Chris Metzen-esque cliffhangers that lead us into the expansion packs.
Yeah, of course, that as soon as the people have started, they finish this game, that'll be it. They'll start speculating about what the X-Pack's going to contain.
Yeah, we already have started it. But the whole thing with the runestones we were just talking about makes it a little bit different, because previously you just had to get every character to 30 and you could see every single rune effect and every single skill. And now you've got to get them to 60. So I'm not going to play one character to 60 before I play any other characters, certainly. But previously I had planned on playing all 5 characters to 30, just right in a row, and experimenting with all the runestones. And now I'm not sure what I'm going to do. It'll depend on who I'm enjoying more, and maybe I really am enjoying the wizard or whatever, and I want to keep getting them up higher. And I would at least play some of the other characters to get through the game for comparison's sake and such. But it's harder to plan ahead now. They keep changing around the levels of the skills in the new system. But I do definitely feel like the new skill system encourages you to level up your characters higher. Evil on their part, no doubt.
Yes, quite right.
One other thing we need to mention, we have our 15th anniversary of Diablo was not long ago, and our 15th anniversary of this website is now, more or less. And we posted a little article about that today, and people seem to be enjoying it, getting very nice comments from the readers.
Yes, it's good to see the comments encouraging actually lots of people to come out in the woodwork, sharing their memories of when they first started visiting the site.
I was wondering who those commenters were and what they'd done with our regular readers. Nobody wants to be too doomy and gloomy on the day of the release date's finally announced. It
was fun actually putting the article together, looking over all the old site designs and the designs of old sections. The amount of stuff.
And you remember them all perfectly and exactly like it was yesterday.
No, I totally forgot like the guild times. I'm looking at it thinking I do when I saw it I remembered it, but before if I'd had to list it I wouldn't have remembered. I remember things like the darkness and the dark library and all that, but the guild times and a few of the others, it's like wow, Jesus, I'd never remember those. But it was fun looking at all over all the old stuff, looking over the old news as well.
And we have links and screenshots of things in the article people can look at in memory lane.
And we will have, next week, we're going to run competitions every day where people can win a copy of Diablo 3 when it's released. And other bits and pieces that I have in my cupboard.
Your years of swag.
Oh, I got so much swag.
We should dig up our old Diablo 2 shirts and collector's edition. Do you still have the bottle of wine they gave us at Blizzard North?
Yeah, it's still got the engraving on it, and I got the picture frame as well.
I have it somewhere. Yeah, our swag from in 2000, we visited Blizzard North, and we got wine bottles that had Blizzard North like laser etched into the side of them. I mean, it's like embossed, or whatever the opposite of embossed is. They're concave, not convex.
Do you still have yours?
I do. It's crap. I'm sure the wine has been undrinkable for 8 years or longer.
Yeah, it's probably like vinegar now, I imagine. So,
I showed my dad the bottle years ago. He's a big wine aficionado. He's like, "Oh, this is really bad wine." I'm like, "Well, I'm sure it's even worse after 12 years." But yeah, it's fun to have this. We have these little tidbits laying around the house.
But I got T-shirts and I don't know, loads of stuff, boxes of stuff. So anyway, we'll be giving away games every day and other bits of swag in very simple competitions, no convoluted things.
Will they involve signing up on the Facebook page? Everybody seems to hate those. Every Diablo 3 beta contest from these obscure gaming sites we're seeing, it's like, hey, like us on Facebook and maybe you can win. People are like, I hate Facebook.
No, there'll be no signing up stuff.
Famous last words.
Yeah, I know. I'm a liar.
They won't exclusively be Facebook, at least, though. You can promise that. So, does the 15 years, does it seem like yesterday?
No, it seems...
When you're looking at those old pictures of Reality X, was it like, that was me?
Looking at that, there's a picture of me updating on the machine that I used to do it. And there's a sofa in the foreground. I just look at that and it makes me shudder because that's where I used to sleep a lot of nights. Because I'd be typing away, so it'd be like 7 o'clock. I think I'd just sit, just rest my eyelids for a little bit. And then next thing, wake up 3 hours later to someone rattling the door going, "Let me in, I want to play Red
Alert." And you loved your customers back then. The reason you're no longer in customer service.
Yeah, so no, it does feel like 15 years ago.
And you were living in Scotland at the time. Did you even mention your location in the article? I don't recall.
Well, it said Edinburgh. I'm hoping that most people know where that is.
Long since you lived there.
And it was a freezing shop with just little heaters. Yes.
Didn't the machines keep it warm when it was open, though?
Yeah, when it's open, but most of my updates had to be done after the shop closed. And the earliest we ever closed was 11 o'clock at night. If people were still in playing, then we played for as long as they were there. If there wasn't anyone, we would close at 11. So I always worked through the night. We wouldn't heat, massive high ceilings wouldn't keep that hot all night just for me sitting there updating. So no. So it's fingerless gloves and and a coffee machine every 10 minutes to keep warm. It's like Dickensian, isn't it? It sounds like.
Please, sir, I'm having a lump of coal. No.
Yeah, anyway, so, yeah. And then you came along.
And made it all better. Or not.
Made all the pain stop.
I was living in San Diego that long ago. In some crappy little apartment somewhere. I don't recall which one I was even in. I lived in about 5 apartments in San Diego in 10 years. Long ago. Now I'm in Oregon. Far, far away. Any other news of the week?
No, just wanted to make sure people knew we got competitions running next week.
And 59 days to go. By next time we record this, it'll be under 50 days probably, or 52 or something like that.
Or 20.
You're going to take a month and a half off to recover your coughing voice. Release date today, and big excitements and competitions next week. I think that's it. Any last thoughts, Ellie?
Nope.
All right, this has been the Diablo Podcast, and we are a service of DiabloInkGamers.com. Bye.
Bye.
Release date.
Yippee!